Thank you everyone for joining us. Today I'm Sunir Shah, President of the Cloud Software Association and CEO of AppBind. Today I'm your host. I have two esteemed colleagues, Jake Wallace, now at SignEasy, also chair of the Cloud Software Association, and Rajiv Ramanan at Freshworks, also on the board of the CSA. Let's be honest, we're a friendly club here. We're talking about something really exciting, which is how they turn their tech partnership strategies into a predictable revenue machine, which is like the holy grail for SaaS partnerships, let's be honest. And it's a great story. We had a prep call a couple of days ago and they would not hold back. So I'm going to stop talking at this point, let them introduce themselves. But I will say this is a live session. So Q&A, fire away in the Q&A box. We will get to as many questions as we can. That's the way this goes. This is about you guys, the audience. So with that, Jake, I'll let you introduce yourself first and then we'll turn it to Rajiv.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Sunir. Hi, everyone. My name is Jake Wallace. As Sunir mentioned, I am head of strategic partnerships at SignEasy. My main responsibility is leading all strategy behind partnership here at SignEasy. Myself and a teammate who focuses on our reseller referral program, while I maintain our key partner relationships with Freshworks being one of them.
Rajiv?
So, hey everybody, this is Rajiv here. So I head Technology Alliances and the startup program for Freshworks. So I joined Freshworks about 5 years back, and when I started as a product manager in the marketplace team and started building out our marketplace. Today we have about 1,150 plus integrations on our marketplace, and we launched about 3 years back and been scaling quite intensively. So then I took over, I moved from product to the business development role and heading all technology alliances for Freshworks. I also run the startup program, the GSI program, and India channel revenue for Freshworks.
So tell me, before we get into it, because I think it matters, is like, first, Freshworks has a huge amount of products. We're talking about one specific one right now. And what is the customer segment we're talking about? Because that's going to be important for people to wrap their heads around what we're talking about.
Sure. So Freshworks, we have about 12 products right now, but our primary focus is on SMBs. So what we classify as SMBs is 0 to 250 employees. And we are segment agnostic. We are more into customer engagement. So everybody needs customers. So we are sector agnostic. But we sell into 0 to 250 employees through through an inside sales motion, and it's a pretty large team that we have to do that. And then we have the commercial segment that is 250 to 500 employees, where we try to go in and work with companies where it's a mix of both inside sales and field motion. And we also have the enterprise segment, which is 500 employees and above for us. So pretty much we call it mid-market to enterprise, and that's driven by our field teams. So, but most of our partnerships, and as I said, our customer segment, we started off as an SMB company. We still cater to a wide range of SMB companies. Most people start at SMB and go to mid-market and go to enterprise, but then they find it difficult to come back. We still have our eyes very much on the SMB segment. So we are still an SMB and a mid-market company and inching towards enterprise.
Yeah, and with SignEasy, that's exactly who we focus on, right? SMBs to mid-market customers. We're a productivity tool, right? So we can definitely span across a number of different industries. But we've seen mostly our customers coming from the real estate space, property management, thinking about lease agreements that need to be signed these days, insurance, banking, construction. We've seen an uptick in education. Given this time of year, K through 12 schooling, in needing documents and waivers and things like that signed. But within organizations, typically sales and HR organizations are our primary, focus point with regards to our product, which, works well with the Freshworks product and the Fresh team. So, that's who we generally target, and that's why our partnership here today is an ideal one that we're looking to forge here.
Well, let's get into it. That's the good table setting. But let's start at the beginning of the story. So, who initiated? How did this thing start off? It wasn't just because we're all hanging out trying to build this thing called the Cloud Software Association. You guys are actually doing legit business. So, I think Jake, you're the one who reached out. So, what was the story there?
Yes. Yeah, so about last year sometime, Freshworks actually came to SignEasy, and our founders actually have a mentor relationship, so that's huge, right? In regards to sparking partnership. But ultimately, Freshworks came to us for a potential need for e-signature capabilities within two of their products, their CRM, Fresh Sales, and Fresh Team. After getting, going through and discussing the various use cases and kind of where we were at late last year, we started and agreed to work on their Fresh Teams product. And essentially now with COVID, right, onboarding employees and with applicant tracking services that are out there, more so than ever, digital e-signature tools is a big need to streamline that process of onboarding new employees. So, that's essentially how the partnership began. Through development time, we worked very closely together to roll out this embedded solution. We last year opened up our APIs to support these types of use cases where SaaS tools could leverage e-signatures capabilities and using our APIs to essentially make that happen there. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's essentially how the partnership formed. I came on board literally 3 days after we actually officially announced the partnership and the support with Fresh Team and in SignEasy, which was pretty awesome to see, the chatter across the industry and the support, and obviously given the pandemic right in the middle of it. So, I took it upon myself to really just jump in and form that relationship and take it to the next level from a GTM standpoint, and working with Rajiv and Christopher on their side to, get beyond the normal kind of go-to-market strategy of social and PR press release and blog posts and all that stuff, but ultimately try and form a more tighter strategic partnership.
Well, this is actually an interesting part of the story, and I think part of the human side of this. Like my view, as you may or may not know, is almost all partnership is dominated by the human relationships we have with our partners, because that is almost going to guarantee success or failure, just the other person you're dealing with and yourself. But like Jake, you just joined SignEasy, and you were doing tech partners at your previous company, but you came in here with a new objective that you hadn't had before. So can you just tell, like, what was, like, when you talked to Sunil, and said, hey, I want to join SignEasy, I want to take your tech partnerships from here to there, like, what did you say to him? What was your objective you're trying to do? What's new for you?
Yeah, SignEasy has been very much product driven for many years. In the 10 years that we've been around, we actually just celebrated our 10-year anniversary a couple weeks back. Focused on mobile platform. We're a mobile first solution. The ease of signing on the go anywhere at any time was the driver for our growth for many years. And integrations, yes, we had all the major players from a cloud storage standpoint, from an integration side of things, but they were just bolted on as a must-have from a product support standpoint. So my goals in joining SignEasy is to open up these channels, right? Many years it's always been, just in general from a tech partnership standpoint, it's an add-on from a product side of the house, where now we're looking at trying to open up new channels of revenue. So working very closely with ecosystems to essentially co-sell and enhance some product-led or lead generations, so that our sales teams can ultimately close much faster and kind of see additional avenues of growth by way of these partnerships. I think ultimately when a lead comes in from a partner, that's a lot more warm than one-to-one relationship and going out there. You got you're leveraging a number of different conversations that are being being had from the partner side of things. And when it makes sense, you bring in complementary partners to help, close those deals.
Like, your objectives and how you shifted and changed and how you came to SignEasy is one side of the coin. But Rajiv, this is also interesting from your point of view because you've gone through a similar objective shift inside Freshworks. I mean, you said you have like 1,000 something tech partners. That's a lot. That's a huge surface area of partners. So what was your objective before 2019 or whatever you made the change? And then what was the change in your objective strategy?
Yeah. So our objectives when we started our marketplace and we started the ecosystem building in Freshworks, we were very clear. So one is we wanted to acquire more customers and retain customers. That's it. So we looked at integrations as a great way for us to acquire customers and retain customers. And in fact, our analysis of data showed us that if a customer is using one integration, their chances of churn was going down by more than 50%. And that was a staggering data point for us. We had built a few integrations natively on the product, and we were doing this analysis with that data. And we realized that, and the more people use integrations, which means more tightly we are integrating with the customer's business process as well, which means the switching costs becomes very high, and there's one less reason for them to switch. If we are terribly bad in providing our services or something that they're changing, people don't switch that easily. So that was the metric that really drove us to start going after acquiring partners to come into our ecosystem, and so that we can, and it works both ways, right? If a customer is not churning from me, the customer is not churning from the partner as well. So we just use that as the leeway to acquire more partners. So initially the first 1.5 years, that was the goal, to have as many integrations as possible. And we were personally taking it on ourselves that we should not lose a single deal because of an integration. So the objective was to get more partners and have more apps on the marketplace.
Yeah, a very defensive strategy in the sales. A very common strategy. Yeah, like you want to build a better product. You want to check all the boxes, right? Yeah.
And you also realize that you can't keep building integrations as a company. That's something you cannot afford to do when you're growing quite rapidly, and you need an ecosystem to come and build on top of you. And that's how we scaled our ecosystem. And then we realized that, okay, there are partners coming into the ecosystem. And we realized that partners also had a lot of customers in the same customer base that we were going after, right? So a great example is SignEasy. So so you look at our customer bases, it's pretty much the same segments, the same markets, and the same decision makers whom we are talking to. So we thought that, okay, it's very interesting to look at this pattern, and why don't we expand our basic play into a marketing play? So 2019, we focused on moving from a pure play acquisition strategy to a ecosystem and a co-marketing engine. So we took up leads as a target. I set up a 4-member team that was focusing on working with partners who were ready to engage with us, who had a customer base, and who are willing to go through this journey with us, because we were also just finding out ways in which we can do things. So we put up a plan. Okay, so we had a very basic plan for the initial years. When we get an app, we do a social post, we do a PR, we do a blog post, and the basic template of publishing a video, listing, and all those things were basic, right? But what more can you do with it? How can you bring the human aspect of it into building a relationship and building something long-term with a partner? That we started in 2019 when we had relationship managers focusing on technology partnerships. They would identify partners with whom we can go deep. We would build out a plan for the next 3 to 6 months with a partner. Okay, doing multiple things. Okay, we'll do a webinar focusing on this topic. You will host it. We will just run it. Second one, we will host. You just participate. We drive traffic to it. Then we set up a panel, bringing more partners into the ecosystem, driving something new out there, bring an influencer together and market it. So it was just a set of marketing ideas. We started doing hyper-local events. So this year it's all pretty screwed up, but last year we used to pick a certain target market and do a small event with one of our partners and bring about 35, 40 people and convert 1 or 2 out of them, which was very cost efficient. So our whole logic, and when we looked at the results, it was staggering. We were able to generate about 6,000, 6,500 leads last year, like pretty good amount of leads, and a very, very good lead to MQL ratio, and cost was nothing, right? So we comparing to our general lead engines, our cost of marketing with partners was very little, because both of us were driving traffic to the event. So we literally split our cost, double the leads. And
I'd like to stop.
that became
There's a point there you made that's important. Like you're tracking MQLs, marketing qualified leads, which
yeah,
is something that the direct marketing team would have to deliver to sales. Now the partner team is also doing the same thing.
yeah.
That's
And that's the
a
difference,
significant
right?
shift.
Yeah. And again, we realize that as a partnerships team, we cannot be typical. One mistake that we've seen a lot of companies do is that the partnership teams are really understaffed. So if you want to take up 10 initiatives at a time and run it, it is very difficult. They cannot scale it. So we have one advantage that we are based in India and we have a great cost arbitrage out there. So we just loaded the team. I had a 4-member partner acquisition team that was focusing only on getting new partners in. I had a 6-member app review team that will focus on getting apps reviewed. And the thing is, we didn't take a shallow approach there. So there are ways to do it, but we didn't take a shallow approach. We test every app as our own product feature. So we go very deeply there, right from doing content to QA to pretty much everything is being done by our team. So that way we realized that we were investing a lot more. And then I had the 4-member co-sell team that is focusing on co-sell initiatives and co-marketing initiatives with my team, right? So the team became big, but we saw immense results. For every person we were adding to the team, we were able to see great results. We were able to track from lead to revenue for each of them, right? So that became an engine for us. And then we realized in 2020 that, yeah, we are able to actually consistently generate marketing qualified leads and that we're able to convert into revenue as well. Why don't we go one step further and go deeper in the co-sell part? Why don't we make it into a sales engine, right? So initially the idea was like, oh, you're still sourcing the deals, you're not closing the deal, so you can't be called a sales engine. But we had to fight our internal alignment with our revenue teams to go and say that, hey guys, we are getting you hot qualified leads from partners, right? So that way we moved a lot of our energy into co-selling with partners, where we focus on doing account interlocks, which are time boxed and very selective, right? So say for example, we pick up complementary.
Let's take a pause here because I think this is important and I want people to like key in to the headline here. So now we're talking about the co-sale strategy, right? So you went from a co-marketing plan, MQLs, and now you're doing co-sales and you're actually driving direct leads from your tech partners, which is like the predictable revenue, like holy grail of partnerships is like, I'm getting sales qualified leads out of these partners. So this is a big shift. This is where you start becoming a revenue group, right? Rather than a product group, right? This is what you were saying to us on the prep call, which blew my mind. So this is the key. I want to underscore it so the audience can like key into what you're about to say. So let's go. So what are you doing now to drive qualified leads?
Yeah. So on the co-sell side, what we started doing is we split it into 2 fronts, right? So one is co-sell with our direct channels. Second is co-sell with our indirect channels. In our co-sell with our direct channels, what we started doing is we started picking up friendly AEs. Again, this is not a very common motion within our company as well. So we started it off piloting with friendly AEs. We picked up a few partners whom we have completely complementary products with. Again, we have a very wide suite of products. So there is a lot of overlap between our products and a lot of our partners' products. But we've adopted a strategy of co-optation. So we realized that when we know that we compete in certain areas, we don't partner in those areas. There are so many other areas where we can partner with, right? So there are some very good partners that we have who have like competing products with us, but we still figure out areas where we can go deep because there is a lot of space to play, right? So what we do in our direct channels is we pick up our AEs and we identify a partner and we start a time boxed and account interlock activity. So we pick up our prospects and run it off, and we make it very region specific, right? So if you're talking about US East Coast and we want to pick up accounts that are in mid-market segment and pick a few verticals or whatever is the other qualifier that the partner will also bring in where he has their strength, we apply all those filters and take about 20 to 30 accounts that we really want an introduction or the partner can give an introduction into us. And we run it against the partner's customer base and pick up those customers where the partner has strong relationships with, and he can give us a direct introduction as a partner into his customer base. So that is the first list that we generate. So my prospects into partners' customers, partners' prospects into my customers. Second, we pick up customers who might not be direct prospects for my partners, but we have great relationships with, right? And our customer success teams always look for hooks to engage with the customer one more time.
Yep.
The more you engage with your customer, you can retain them quite easily, right? So, and you have to have these relationships where you act as a trusted advisor to the customer. So you need to really realize which of your customers that will have such a need or can benefit from this need. And we have enough data in the system to see whether they're using such a product along with our system or not, right?
Okay, so
we know
this is where Jake gets in the story, right? So SignEasy. So this machine has been running for, I guess, some months, right? Half a year, I think, is what you were saying,
yeah.
Right? And then Jake, you come in with this revenue objective for this integration that's already launched. My always favorite time to come as a partnership manager, 3 days after the launch. Like, please stop.
Yes.
Worst thing ever. But it worked out. So now you hook up with. You talk to Rajiv, right? And he's like, so what's the plan? And he gives you this plan. So what did you guys do to respond? Like, you're new, so you have to make SignEasy's, you have to align SignEasy to this process. So what did you do there?
Yes. As I mentioned, when going through the process of pitching to SignEasy, my plan, right, 30, 60, 90-day plan of what we're going to do from a partnership standpoint, and getting on a call with Rajiv and Christopher and all those folks, it was music to my ears when they brought up this concept, right? It was new for us as we're just starting out. So Freshworks was a great partner to walk us through this, right? For us, I had to do is really kind of understand the concept, a bit. Rajiv talked about the exact flow of how it ideally should work out, but then understand who I need to bring in on my team. Ultimately, as being a partnership, team member, you very much are a cross-functional team member, which is great. So, what we did was we ended up bringing somebody from our business intelligence team, as well as our sales director, and lastly, our head of customer success. And the reason for that is BI. We wanted really kind of numbers and customer base and things like that to understand how many customers are using the integration and understand the industry levels and things like that, right? The sales side of the house is prospect pipeline, right? Understand kind of where we can get that data from to be able to ultimately make this interlock. And then lastly, like Rajiv mentioned, or was about to, customer success, so understanding, hey, because we have a great process, an excellent process with regards to our customer success onboarding and in that plan there, led by a great team. So integrating integration seeding questions or probing questions is one of those tasks on all these calls. So having them identify opportunities for our tech partners, and we're now doing that more so since I've joined. So that's now proven to be beneficial in aiding this concept of account locking between our tech partners. So those are the three teams that I kind of routed up together. We talked internally, figured out a game plan, and ultimately we have an identified list that we can start engaging in with Freshworks.
Samuel Siegfried was asking, how are you scaling the teams internally? Do you have your dedicated one? But in this case, it's different. So Rajiv, you were building up your partner team at Freshworks, and then Jake, you were recruiting from other teams. So your local context in your company is adaptive as long as you have the functional resources. You align those teams. So like, what happened? Like, so now you're building up these teams. How did they talk to each other? Like you want leads from one, they're not going to do it until you ask them to do it. So what did you do?
Yeah, the reason why I keep stressing the time-boxed action is this, right? So generally account mapping as a process, typically people pick up accounts, they share lists, and then we forget what happens, right? So when we engage with the partner on account interlocks, we tell them that, so this is the end date. By this date, the introductions should have happened. And there we try to stress on quality over quantity. There are partners like Jake where we can do up to 30, 40 accounts because the teams are engaged to get that much data out, and it's a data intensive activity. But there are partners with whom we've exchanged seven accounts, right? But it happens within that week, within the timeline that we agree, and that time the introduction should have happened. The sales team should send an email out to say, hey, this is one of my partners, and would you be interested in talking to them? And the customer says, yes, why not? And then we make the introduction to the customer. And always a partner success manager is on top of this, because it's their responsibility to ensure that this activity is completely complete. And at the same time, we don't want to bombard customers also with emails who are not interested, right? So we try to pre-qualify as much as possible. We send that email out, the customer opts in to get connected, we connect them immediately to the partner, and then it goes into our systems, right? So we qualify it as a lead, and then we go on to closures. So this is one set, right, where it's an account interlock activity. And the
so
other
I just want to
activity
preference, sorry, Rajiv, I just want to make sure everybody's aware, like, you know, when we're, you know, we're only providing publicly identifiable information, right? So company name, size, you know, industry that they're in, and size of, you know, potential size of their employees. So I just want to make sure that's clear, that, you know, there isn't any customer information being shared. Essentially, if we've identified that there's a prospect in our list at SignEasy that is actually a customer, a valuable customer, and they have a great relationship with that customer of Freshworks and Fresh Teams, that Fresh Teams account manager is actually making that introduction once they've reached out to them, and then if they've agreed to learn more about SignEasy, only then is when the introduction via email is made. So just want to kind of make that clear.
Yeah, Ronan actually from Ignite had that same question. So hopefully that answers your question, Ronan. But Ronan had another real relevant question on this topic as well. So he says that he's had, says Ronan Vengosh. So he said he has had more success convincing customer success to the introductions rather than sales, and sales are highly resistant. But like Rajiv, you found a way to motivate salespeople, right, to do this. So what was the secret?
Yeah,
the weird
in
trick.
fact, there are we had a different problem, because customer success doesn't get anything directly by introducing a customer to a partner, right? So, but the sales guy, when we are working on the same region and we are trying to work in a closed loop, so if a sales guy introduces us to a customer, the sales guy gets an introduction in return, and it's very in a closed loop conversation, right? So it's a lead for a lead. So that ways we are able to keep the sales guys more motivated. Customer success, we are still engaging with them and doing it for karma right now, but we are still yet to figure out the best model where everybody is incentivized to run it properly. So the engagement part, one more engagement point is the hook that we are using today. But over the long term, if they figure out that if I ask the same customer success team to introduce 10 partners to a customer, they might not be able to do it, right? So there's not enough financial incentives that are aligned to do that. So we juggle, we change regions, we work on different regions for us to get it. So once or twice a week, once or twice a year, we hit the same customer success guy twice, right? So otherwise, we try to keep it individual and separate so that everybody is aligned.
Then Jake, for SignEasy's team, like, did they receive this process well? Did they resist? Like, what was the reaction from your internal sales?
Yeah, so keep in mind, this is all new for us on the SignEasy side. So, you know, the thought process was, you know, hey, our salespeople have been working these prospects, right, for some time. Their mentality is, well, if I can close these faster with the support of a partner like Freshworks, they're all for it. So from a sales standpoint and the mentality, that's how we're treating it at the moment. And, you know, again, it's early on, so we're certainly going to learn over the course of time on that. But I mean, Rajiv's right, and you know, customer success is you know, definitely the key for us at our stage. You know, that they're the ones that have that high touch you know, interaction with those customers that could potentially be an opportunity for Freshworks.
Interesting. And then what about you know, cold hard cash? You know, salespeople like money, so to speak. But are you trying any financial incentives?
So we aren't at the moment. Again, you know, we're trying to learn, you know, what we can, you know, what is working. I mean, I know Freshworks, you guys are doing something, but at the moment for us right now, it's strictly motivator of how we can, close those deals much quicker.
Yeah, and then for Rajiv, what are you guys doing?
Yeah. So we run, so this year we started piloting spiffs for sales teams to introduce partners into deals. And that is primarily because of two reasons. One is the company has grown quite significantly and we don't have coverage to all the sales teams to enable them on every particular integration that we have on our marketplace as well. So we have a huge set of integrations, large set of partners, and a big sales team that is brand new coming in. So in fact, we grew by our sales team by close to 100% in the last 1 year. Right. So it's impossible for us to keep track of every single app in the marketplace or help them to close. So this year we started piloting spiffs for our sales team to recommend a select set of apps. So we've said, again, we've pre-selected apps by market, by customer segment, and by solutioning to complementary value to us. And for those partners, there is a spiff for my sales teams to recommend them as part of a deal. And as soon as they recommend a partner into an opportunity, we bring in the partner sales team into the deal to work with my AE to close it very quickly. And what we've done is we've reduced a lot of buying friction, right? So we pre-negotiated solid rates for partner solutions to our Freshworks customers. We've sorted out the contracting part. So how we should do, either it's going to be a direct sale through us or it's going to be a sell two separate contracts for the customer, or all those things we've pre-decided with the partner and have it ready. We have the battle cards and the one-pagers explaining the solution ready. So it's all handy, and we've kept it in a central repository for our sales reps as well. So whenever they are in a deal, there are about 10-15 apps that they have a catalog from to choose from, to if there's an opportunity for them to recommend, they look at it and they go into the deal. So that ways, and we've kept this pretty small because this is not something they do for the money. It is just an accelerator for them, because we don't want this to be the permanent behavior. We want to be the default behavior over the long term. But to kickstart it and to solve these problems of new people coming in and a lot of apps going in, we are doing that right now, and that's pretty working well. And I'll say it's working well in markets, right? So in India and rest of the world, it's working beautifully. Because there is a lot of localization requests that we get and a lot of gaps that we have in the product that we need to close with partners. There we see this to be growing pretty significantly. In markets like US and Europe, it's picking up.
There's a million questions. I'm going to start getting through some of them. They're pretty interesting. So Francois Grenier from Typeform was asking, do you prioritize prospects or existing customers when you're working with partners, or does it matter?
For me personally, I don't think it really matters. If I'm talking to the sales team, of course, prospects, right? They want to close those deals quicker. Ultimately, it's we want to connect as many mutual customers as possible to using these integrations, because from our standpoint, it's creating that stickier customer, ultimately. So for us, it really doesn't matter.
For me, I think what we think about it is, we are a revenue channel, right? So a prospect is, when we are doing an interlock activity or interlock activity, I would prefer it to be partners, customers, because they have a stronger touch point out there, right? And if we are talking about, when we are talking about marketing activities, there are cases when partners can touch their customer base and we can touch our customer base to generate more value. So giving our customers to the partner is the best value we can give to a partner, right? And that's where most partners engage for. Right? But there are cases when you cannot continuously bombard your customers with respect to webinars and events and stuff like that you're doing. At those point of time, we'll focus on prospects and greenfield.
We have to get to this question because it's 2020 and hopefully you can do it diplomatically. So both Bradley Blinn and Sean Scott were wondering, what technology are you using for the account mapping? I will say nothing.
So, at this point of time, we still don't use any technology full-fledged. So we are still going with our relationships with our AEs and CSMs to pick accounts and exchange. We are piloting a couple of applications that are out there in the market for cross-referencing, but we've still yet to finalize and try it out, because there's a lot of hurdles that you need to cross, right from procurement to security to everything, and it's a long process to procure a tool that will help you do account mapping seamlessly. That said, one of our good friends, Tom Bingham, who is currently in Google, introduced us to one tool called the Magic Salad, which is like pretty much like a hash. You create an
Nice.
account, it just hashes it. It's more like a hack than a consistent tool. If you have constrained sharing domains, I'd suggest go for a hack, like a hashing tool that can keep the domain safe. But otherwise, I think when we are not sharing any personally referenceable accounts, we are okay to just identify it through a VLOOKUP and share. And the most important part is you don't want to have a huge list. So the best part is we go with a specific territory. Somebody will have
Yeah.
about an account list of 300 to 500. We choose 20 or 30 out of that. That's pretty easy to do. So.
Yeah.
Well, that's another thing.
Yeah, I mean,
you're like going on
that's
actual
essentially
like
what we did.
customer conversations. Like these are warm. These are not just like spray and pray. Yeah. I mean, I like the old days where we used to meet in a cave underground with candles and robes, but software's okay too.
Yeah.
Okay, there's so many questions. So maybe we should turn around and get the people answer the people's questions. Actually, one key question that comes up a lot is the huge number of partners you have at Freshworks, Rajiv. So question one from Katrina Pagliani. She's at an iPaaS company. She's wondering if, are you using a cloud connector or iPaaS system to manage your integrations, or are they just built yourself? You mentioned you built some before. You have thousands now. Like, how do you handle that?
Yeah, so it's a combination of all. We don't use an iPaaS for building a lot of integrations at one point of time. So most of the integrations out there for us are point integrations. And we use iPaaS for a couple of strategic integrations that we ourselves built out, or some of our partners might have used. I don't know that. But most of the integration that we have are point integrations with that solutions. And there are some iPaaS players whom we've integrated with. Like the typical iPaaS players are already connected with us, and we also list them and we drive customers also to them. A good set of examples would be Zapier, PySync, Cloud Elements. So all these people we have integrations with, and Trade.io. We have a huge set of partners like that that are being listed on our platform, and we try to send traffic to them as well, because if there's a huge long tail of connectors that we don't have relationships with or cannot build out, right? So when there's an integration, and there are also specific use cases that iPaaS has solved that we cannot, our integrations might not solve. We solve only for certain set of use cases. In those cases, we refer customers to iPaaS, but otherwise we don't use iPaaS for all our integrations.
All right, and then the related question on this case. Now, this may be different between the two companies, because let's be honest. So SignEasy is a peripheral in technology language, and Freshworks is a platform, right? So there are different they have different roles in the industry. So in your case, Rajiv, you might have multiple apps that might be going in to complete a sale. So the one question again from Ronan was, do you do this right now, or are you only doing one partner at a time when you're doing this kind of partner co-selling?
No, so it does not stop with one partner, right? So if there's a warm deal that we have and where we want more partners to come in, obviously, so we want to keep it very customer centric, right? If there's an option for us to recommend two options and let the customer choose one, we do that. Mainly because we are not experts in all the requirements that the customer might have of our partner solutions. We have our pre-sales team, that is our solutions engineering team, sitting under partnerships as well, which we use primarily to vet some of the customer requirements and map it to certain partner applications, but we are not the experts. We know that very well. So if we find that 2 or 3 partners match, we give those options to customers. And in many cases, we make the direct introduction of the partners also to the customers so that the customer can choose from, right? And the other thing that comes out of it is like how do we manage multiple partners on the same deal, right? So it's very simple. We as partner success managers, my whole team has clear set of relationships that they manage, and we have everything about that partner documented with us. So if a deal requires a signing solution and also requires a remote desktop solution, etc., we just test the solution together with our pre-sales teams, bring in the corresponding AEs, and go to the customer together, right? So that's how we do it. And so far, touch wood, it's been manageable. So let's see how it goes.
And Jake, you have an interesting story, because you went from an Anchor app, which you can name if you want, to now a peripheral app. So has your approach to working with the ecosystem partners changed because you're in a different position now? I mean, I had the same experience. I had a similar experience when I was at Freshbooks, which was an anchor, moving to OLARC, which is a peripheral. I had to change my approach in dealing with tech partners.
Yeah. You nailed it. Absolutely. You know, I was at an email marketing automation platform prior to this, Aweber. So obviously, you know, MarTech and the customers that we were servicing, you know, they use a lot of different technologies. So it was very important for us to be connected to a number of different tools in that space. You know, so moving over to SignEasy, we're taking more of a narrow, you know, focused approach, and not trying to have, you know, hundreds of partners. You know, we want to have a smaller set of partners, but, you know, remain, you know, focused in driving, you know, product-led opportunities, as well as, you know, these new channels for growth as well. So, you know, absolutely the mentality really shifted, you know, overnight to focusing solely on those key partners.
You know, and a related question from Kieran Ellengugel, talking about professional services. So, you know, actually the email marketing, you would have a lot of more agencies, professional services implementing. I don't know what's the situation around SignEasy. Freshworks is a very complicated ecosystem with PSs, SIs around you. And then you might have, the question is, first, do you have your own professional services for enterprise customers internally that you have? And then how do you then, of course, deal with partner professional services companies? And, you know, so I can start with you, Rajiv. Like, so how does that work? Like, do you have professional services? I don't even know.
Yeah, very interesting question, because there also we've seen a lot of change in our strategy from the time I joined. So when I joined, we had a small professional services team, and we call it we call it the plugs team. So whenever there is a product gap, they just go write something to plug it. Right? So, and we at one point of time we realized that we have more than 4,000 plugs written, and it was impossible to manage. And that team was also getting swarmed, request after request, deal after deal. They would just come in and get the same request, and it was impossible to manage that. Right? So then we started building the SI ecosystem at Freshworks. And the strategy that I followed was we hired small companies, 20, 30 member companies with good development basics. And one very good thing that we did as part of our platform strategy is we made the platform extremely easy to build on. So people just need HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to build on top of our platform, right? Which is now pretty much any college graduate who's coming out with a degree and some basic knowledge of computer science can do, right? So we picked up those hungry companies who are very small but want to grow, and we started building a small ecosystem out of that. And we started outsourcing a lot of our customer work to that. But then we realized that the team, the partners are not that professional enough. They've not grown professional enough to manage customers this scale. And these customers can be from anywhere in the world. So they literally had to work through different time zones, and expectation setting was become a problem with customers, etc. So again, we started putting in a program management office right between the partners and our customers. So we have a very small 2-member team out there. So whenever there is a customer who has a customization request that is coming in, we started having our program management team work with our pre-sales or our support team to convert that into a proper requirement and share it with the end system integrator or our partner. They come back with estimates. We connect the customer and the partner, and we always handhold the customer and the partner in the journey. And over a period of time, the partners matured. Now they are able to handle. We just need to have, we still have the program management office. The team is still 2 members, but our ecosystem has grown quite big now. But we are still able to manage it for the customer and the partner together with seamless delivery of timelines, contracts, payments, and everything taken care of. Right? So that is but as we started hitting enterprises, we wanted more strategic integrations to be built out, and which we could not outsource because some of this work require product level changes, right? So then now we have a professional services team within Freshworks that takes care of implementation and services, and they're a small team that gets engaged only in very strategic deals or very large complex deals, which we cannot purely outsource. They consume our SI team services as well today. So we just front end everything for the customer. And if it's a high touch customer, very complex enterprise deals with enterprise integrations, which cannot be purely outsourced, our integration teams takes care of it. Anything else, we have the ecosystem to take care of.
That is quite a journey. And like Jake, you've also like SignEasy is obviously going to market a lot through like Apple resellers, you know, Aweber and email marketing. So you it's not like you don't have them at SignEasy. How does that? Have you brought your resale channel into these kind of tech partnership deals yet, or how does this working so far?
So we haven't to date. However, you know, we're working with Apple and their ACN network very closely. As I mentioned, I have a teammate that focuses, you know, a good percentage of his time on those IT consultants. And they, you know, they're also reselling, you know, some of our partners as well. So, you know, whether it kind of come together in a three-legged stool approach and collaborate as partners to create a unique offering, those are things that we're exploring today. I've done those in my past. That has proven to work extremely well, brings value to the end user, because otherwise they may not have, you know, seen or have been able to take advantage of those deals otherwise. So for us, yeah, it's you know, supporting our reseller network. Much of them are IT consultants, folks that really are servicing those end customers for all things business related tools.
You know, speaking of reselling, there's reselling with service partners or MSPs, and there's also reselling between each other. Matt Hassett had a similar question. Are you right now doing any reselling first between tech partners? Are you reselling at tech partners? And if not, like, what is, like, how do you commercialize this relationship? Is it just straight handoff? Good luck, Simplify, or what's going on?
I mean, not a good luck, but you know, it certainly is just, in our case, referrals, right? And value add to ultimately end customer. You know, we're not. I think we're and Rajiv could probably agree. You know, we're certainly focused on, you know, growing our product, and we want to create value ultimately for our, you know, future customers, but our current customers as well, and that's where partners can come in and help. You know, help with that.
We're coming to the end here. I think we should, there's a good question here from Jeff Matan that might lead us to the future. So he's asking, you know, partnerships are typically under-resourced. This is unfortunately just water. I have my whiskey up there. It's too early in the day. I can't handle it. But has anything, so the question is, I mean, this is a shift to predictable revenue, which is a big deal. Has anything changed in terms of funding or headcount now that you're running MQLs, SQLs? Now, I mean, Jake, you're new. You are the new headcount. So, yes.
Yeah.
Are your OKRs or objectives, however you're tracking internally, are they structured around revenue goals and increase? Do you have a plan to? I mean, you're talking, I think, earlier about setting a budget. You mentioned that earlier in the community. Like, so what's the plan here for you?
Yeah, for us, I mean, you know, definitely this is an OKR for us, the reseller, and also lead generation in opening up these channels. So for planning purposes for Q3, I mean, we don't know what we don't know, right? So we're using this quarter to learn and to make better data assisted decisions heading into the future, immediate future, Q4, and then in 2021. So for us, this is all learning experiment for us, and we're gonna take the good and bad and ultimately make it better over time. But working with Rajiv and their established program, you know, has been truly amazing to be able to leverage that and kind of go to market together, right? And I think that's a true definition of partnership, right? This is forming this relationship and working towards a shared goal, but ultimately leveraging relationships to achieve that.
And to Rajiv, you're further down the path here, and obviously you're a larger company. So how's your headcount budgeting changed with these objectives?
So as soon as we started showing solid MQL and conversion numbers, investments came in, right? So investments always follow results. For the first few initiatives that we take, we always are very lean. So the approach that we take and personally what I push for is, if I have to run a new initiative, I run it as a without investments, right? Go as lean as
Yep.
possible. So it takes time, it
Yep.
takes pain, but once we start showing
Prove out
results,
the concept.
yeah, the investments have automatically followed. Now we are considered. So we used to be the last preference when it comes to sitting on pipeline review meetings, right? Because integrations are typically loss reasons, nothing more than that, right? But now we are being invited to every single team's pipeline reviews, okay? Because we are adding new pipeline. So when we are getting that respect of the sales organizations. And once we are, so again, a good example is we were able to convert some large mid-market deals within record timelines compared to our other typical outbound engines, right? So these things, we started publicizing it a little bit more in the company. We realized that, okay, much more warm leads lead to faster revenue, which means we started getting that respect, the headcount and the budgets. And all these things we try to, and even with the budgets, right? So there are, initially this year, we were not given a separate budget. But what we started as and when we started doing more of these events, etc., we started riding on our typical marketing engine. So we align with ourselves with our field budgets. We align ourselves with the other marketing teams' budgets. We run campaigns with our partners, with our digital marketing team's budget. Everybody gave us access because we were also enhancing their results.
There was an interesting conversation
Rajiv,
I had
that's
here.
Interesting. Sorry, Sunil. I want to touch on that. The fact that you were invited into pipeline reviews is huge, because you can bring that value that, hey, if anything pops up and they mention a partner in something, you can raise your hand immediately and say, hey, can I help you with that? And that right there helps in the future, having these sales people buy in to this concept of, tech partners as a new channel.
Yeah, and
that's interesting. I like that.
One very interesting thing is, usually we were the team that will go to the sales team to say, hey, take me into a deal because it might help you close faster, or it might help my partner. But now when they are stuck in deals, they send us the customer names and say, hey, can you check with any of your partners if they are their customers? Right?
Perfect.
So it changes the equation completely. Now we are more friendly. Again, partnerships is a completely people game, and internally as well, it's a huge people game. So we work with champions that really take us seriously, and then we penetrate into the org.
Well, I mean, I love aligning yourself with how the CFO or whatever would align with the other teams. I mean, partnerships only accelerates the existing business objectives of other teams. So you're just working with another outside people to run internal objectives, right? And that you're doing this, found a way to do that to scale is, I think, the powerful lesson out of this story, and at least at the strategic level. Also, market yourself internally. Partnership people don't do enough PR for themselves. That's for sure.
Yeah. I think definitely as partnership leaders or folks like in the space, they should definitely integrate themselves into the different parts of the company. I think that's extremely beneficial. In my previous company, I was involved in the marketing planning as well as the sales planning, and then that proved to be extremely valuable.
Gentlemen, this has been great. I really appreciate it. Jake, you did call me Sunil once. I told you this is going to be a problem.
Did I? Yeah, and I will say that'll it'll continue to happen.
Oh, I know. Even with Freshworks, now I was at FreshBooks. I told you, I sent Girish an email because he cramped over the brand. You won that. I get you two are just like, that's fine. I'll just take away my whole identity. It's fine. I appreciate it. Anyway, I appreciate it, guys. This is really wild. I really appreciate the story. This is like the secret to the future of what all of us are working on, especially in tech partnerships. Thank you so much for the questions. I'm sorry I couldn't answer them all. But Jake and Rajiv are in our Slack, which is cloudsoftwareassociation.com/join. You'll find our Slack community if you're seeing this online. They're both in there, and they're both on the board, and they're very active members, and they're very friendly. Rajiv will probably tell you about 4,000 things you didn't even hear about because he's very excited about this issue. So I'm putting it on you, Rajiv.
Yeah.
He's great.
You should put yourself on mute first.
All right. Gentlemen, this video will be recorded and published on YouTube sooner or later. And now let's say goodbye. Thank you again.
Yeah, thanks, Sunil.
Thanks everyone. Take care.
Thanks, Jake. Take care.